Hello, my beautiful sparrows. Today, what we're going to discuss is scapegoating and what is it, and how scapegoating works, and what to do about it if you're caught in that cycle of scapegoating. So, this video, disclaimer, guys, it's on a heavy topic. If you have been scapegoated or made into a scapegoat, I would suggest to get some counseling, get some help, get some therapy, because scapegoating, if you're not aware and it happens to you, it's deeply, deeply disturbing physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, because it's really nasty. So, coming to the definition of scapegoating definitely means blaming others by means of projection and deflection. So, it's a psychological term, scapegoating. Another meaning is, blaming someone for the actions or the faults of others, or organization or family. So scapegoating is a really complex socio-psychological tactic used by since the birth of civilization, or since the birth of humans, basically, that people employ for their own benefit. So that's just a really simple definition of scapegoating. Scapegoating in biblical terms definitely has a really interesting meaning. In biblical terms, scapegoating is a goat on whose head symbolically the sins of mankind, of people, are placed, and then they're set into wilderness in the biblical ceremony of Yom Kippur. I'm not sure if it's a Christian ceremony or a Jewish ceremony, but the sounds of a Yom Kippur sounds like a Jewish ceremony. But I'm not an expert, but it's really interesting how even in biblical context there is such a thing as scapegoating. I mean, even in Islam, there is a ritual of sacrificing an animal, and it's the same as a ritual in Jewish traditions, where that actually the scapegoating actually does come from the Jewish tradition, where an animal is set free in the wild, so that that animal is seen bearing the sins and the wrongdoings of everyone else. In Islam, it's might be a little bit different, but yeah, I don't want to get too much into religious context, but it's really interesting to see how even in biblical terms, the scapegoating, there is a definition for it. And like I said, in a lot of religions, there are certain phenomena and definitions of the terms that are spiritual in nature. It's beautiful, but yeah. So there are certain kinds of scapegoating that happens, unfortunately, all around us. So the black sheep of the family, guess who that is? It's someone who is constantly blamed for any family problems or any issues in the families, or any disruptions, or dysregulations in a family. It can be the immediate family or a bigger family. The victim, the black sheep, can be targeted because of how they look, how they what beliefs they have, or how they conduct themselves, if they're not confining to what the family is expecting them to be. Or honestly, sometimes they don't even have to do anything. Sometimes, unfortunately, scapegoating happens for no reason at all, just for the heck of blaming someone for the family's issues. That's family scapegoating. The other kind of scapegoating is called organizational scapegoating, and that, my friends, is as bad as, or even worse at times, than family scapegoating, which means that individuals or groups of people are blamed for the failure or problems of the company or organizations or religious groups, or communities, basically. It can happen at work. It can happen, like I said, in a community setting, or religious order, or where people come together and they are together, basically. Organizational scapegoating is the reason why a lot of these tragedies happened in the past and are still happening around the world, because because that's how humans are, and propaganda, that's how it works. So it's really, really dangerous. And in saying that, guys, like I said earlier, please get help if you are the victim of scapegoating in your childhood. And if it's not affecting you, it's fine if you can deal with it by yourself, or with the help of your family or friends. But if you are suffering from that, the severity of scapegoating, where you cannot function, please get some help. Please do, because we owe it to ourselves to provide us a safe mental and emotional environment. So the next question is, how does scapegoating works? How do we know what's scapegoating? So let's just talk about different mechanisms that take meaning in a form of scapegoating. So number one is unfair blame. So for example, if a parent has not locked the cars and left their purse in the car, and the child was sitting there and just came out, the parent should have locked the car, but the child's blamed for the purse being stolen. Just an example, can be a zillion of examples. Or the fact that you were actually told to do something by your boss, but because your boss got in trouble, now the boss is blaming you, and they told you, no, it did not happen. I never told you to do that. It actually, interestingly, now that I think about it, it happened to me a long time ago, when something happened, and clearly she told me in front of everyone, that was her group as well, that can you do that please? And I'm like, of course, and I did that, and something happened, like she wasn't supposed to tell me to do it, and then she blamed it on me, saying I never said that. She did it all by herself, and the group of people, her friends, all blamed it on me, and they said, nah, we can testify that the boss never told her to do that. So yeah, scapegoating happens even at work in worse ways, and that's the worst feeling. So it can happen anywhere, in any context. So unfair blame is the number one thing in scapegoating. Another way scapegoating works is something called, it's a psychological phenomenon again, it's called projection. What is projection, you might ask? Projection is simply a defense mechanism when people can't own up to their own feeling of shame, guilt, rage, or disapproval, and then they blame it on others to basically avoid accountability. It's just a shift of accountability. That's what projection is. It can mean something like, if you're dealing with a narcissist, doesn't have to be a narcissist, but if you're dealing with someone who likes to play that game of projection, what it can look like is, they might really backhanded comments, and they might annoy you subtly, and that can build up over a few days or weeks, and finally when you do end up saying something, or hopefully you'd never blow up on those people, because then they're going to blame you. It always happens, guys, so always never lose your cool. So yeah, when they keep pestering you in not in sideways, they're not coming at you brazenly, they're doing it underhandedly, and then eventually you do something about it, and then they say, oh no, you're the one who got issues, I'm fine, I'm fine with you, and you're like, what? So that's called projection. And that's another tactic of people who make scapegoats. They use that. I really want you guys to be familiar with all the tactics and the mechanisms through which people are made into scapegoats. I really want you to pay attention. So number one is blame game. Number two is projection. Number three is gaslighting. So gaslighting, again, guys, it's a disclaimer, it's really a serious psychological tactic used by the abusers to maintain power. That's what it is. So what is gaslighting? It's just a manipulation tactic to question the scapegoat's reality, their frame of mind, their own memories, and their own perceptions, to the point that, the gaslighter or the narcissist or anyone who is playing those dirty tactics, can point to that scapegoat and say, yep, look at that, they don't even know what they're talking about. And then they rally other posses and their own croonies, and then they say, yep, that's what they're doing and that's not right. And the gaslighter not only is able to maintain power, they are able to destroy, obliterate, and weaken the scapegoat's person's sense of reality. And when you make someone question their own sense of reality, that's the worst kind of thing you can do to someone. And that's what gaslighting is. They might, for example, just an example, your boss might tell you to do something. I think I'm just going to quote from mine, and then, gaslight everyone into believing, no, I never said that. And even though some of the staff members would know for a fact that that's not the truth, but they'll just go with it because everyone else is. So gaslighting is, basically a really strong manipulation tactic into not only obtaining power for themselves, but also into destroying that black sheep of the organization or black sheep of the family, their own perception of their own reality, their own self-worth, and their own self-love. They collapse eventually into believing that maybe the other version of what they're telling is the truth, when it's not. It's the opposite. So gaslighting is really, really, really dangerous, guys. It's been used for hundreds and thousands of years. It's not a new tactic. A lot of abusers do that as well, and it's never done in good faith. All these mechanisms, unfair blame, projections, gaslighting, and smear campaigns, and everything else, that is done so that they can scapegoat you or someone else. And we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it and how we can save ourselves and our family and our friends and our colleagues and our people that we deal with on a daily basis. We need to spread that awareness. So when these things are happening to you or to those that you love, you can pinpoint it and say, yeah, I know what's going on. It's not me, it's scapegoating, and I can see it. The next mechanism of how scapegoating works, guys, it's a smear campaign. So a smear campaign is can be something really little, it's an organized way to damage someone's reputation. That's all what it is. And spreading false rumors and negative stereotypes, or any negative connotations that can, really damage someone's perception of who they are. That's what smear campaign is. It's done so that collectively they can say, see, she's the way she is because that's how, she works, and that's how she is. And it's just done to maintain their power balance, so that scapegoat person cannot justify themselves. And it's a collective effort. Sometimes it's one person doing it within a family, but sometimes it's even within a family or organization or in a friends group or your acquaintances, to just basically get everyone else to see you in a certain light. That is a smear campaign. It's really ugly. I have personally been through some smear campaigns, guys. Like I said, if you are an empath, if you are on some kind of a path towards truth, and you're not subscribing to people's bullshit and people's those games that people are employing just so that you can be in their team, when you refuse to do that, you unfortunately, a lot of the times the society will get you to gaslight you, do smear campaigns against you, getting those unfair blames on you and projections and whatnot. It's only done so that you can crumble within yourself, so that you don't stand up for yourself. Because when you stop standing up for yourself, if you're a scapegoat and you start believing in other people's projections, as well as, perceptions and lies, and you like, yeah, maybe there's something wrong with me, why is everyone why is everyone, questioning me and, trying to prove something. Guys, this is a really slippery slope. And the more you kind of deal with those people, the more you damage yourself. Especially I have noticed in big organizations, and workplaces where there's a different set of people that you're working with, or you are connecting with. Most people wouldn't do that, but they are that 5% that has that agenda against you. It can be any reasons, honestly. It can be because you don't take any nonsense, and you are, not only accountable for yourself, but you're making other people accountable as well. So you agree, like, yep, I could have done this different, but this is what you've done as well. And instead of, being gracious about you being honest about it, and being having integrity about the situation, and saying, you know what, yes, I have done that, let's move past it, let's find ways to, so that we can work together, they will start blaming you and start a smear campaign. They will rally with these people who are of the same vibration, because they need someone to blame. They need, they're unhappy with their own selves, they are unhappy within their own families, within their own relationships, within how they are as a person. They are deeply unhappy because, like I said, it can be anything. They can be unresolved childhood traumas, that fear of guilt and shame for, themselves or their kids, who are acting that way. And instead of taking accountability and saying, you know what, maybe I need to do something better, as a parent, or as a community, let's make changes where we work in transparency and, work together in good faith. Instead of doing that, they start doing all that. So guys, I need you to be really careful. And then what happens is that if you're not an experienced person, like I have quite a bit of experience in dealing with scapegoating and deemed the black sheep of the place, I know straight away when a person is not willing to take ownership. I know that. And then not only that, even if you are being honest with them, they will say that you're not taking accountability. What basically they want you to do is shut the hell up and not say anything to whatever gaslighting they're doing, whatever blame shifting and, projections and the smear campaigns they're doing. They don't want you to even respond to that and say, no, this actually not what happened. So this is my problem with these people. Like, not only they will avoid any and deflect any wrongdoings from their part, they will then expect you to shut the hell up about it and not even, ask you questions. Okay, why did this not happen then, Guys, like I said, it's a slippery slope. And the more you kind of get your hands dirty with those people, the more you kind of sink lower. In my opinion, it's never worth it. It has never worth it, because the more you're trying to change a person's mind, because you're working in authenticity and integrity, and you're like, okay, maybe if I take accountability and, I'm being honest and, I try to cooperate with someone, maybe they'll see that and work in the same manner. They don't do that. They will never do that. Some people, I would say maybe 2% out of those 100 people, 2 to 5% might say, yeah, you know what, I was being shit about it, and let's move forward in good faith, and let's, cooperate together. Most of them, 98%, will just, actually get more angry for, bringing up what they've done. How dare you? How dare you point out my mistakes when I'm pointing everything wrong even to you? You should shut the hell up and not do anything about it. So guys, it's a really heavy topic. That's why I'm bringing it up, and it's for our own benefit. The more we spread that truth, the more we spread what's actually happening psychologically, and within a group of people, or actual facts being misconstrued just to suit their narrative, just because they want someone to blame something on, so that they can walk free, unaccountable, psychologically, as well as on a 3D realm. They'll do that, anyone. If you're, especially if you are a person of color sometimes, and you don't conform to the mainstream, you'll be made a scapegoat like this. Not even a question. You'll be like this. If you are, for example, like a person of brown color working in a predominantly any other race, I'm not naming any race, because I do believe there's good people and bad people in every race, and I don't digress from it. 100%. If you're working with, for example, people of different color than you, can be any color, and so first of all, you're gonna stick out anyway, because you look different. You might dress different, you might not aspire to a lot of things that they aspire to, or I'm not even saying I am someone who actually is different from people from my own culture, so I don't even 100% subscribe to them, because I know what's right and what's wrong in my heart, and I always do what's the right thing from my heart. I make mistakes, and I have no shame in admitting when I've made mistakes, but in saying that, I'm someone who walk my own path. So getting back to how scapegoating is likely to happen, so if you look different from a group, of even within your family, you'll be made, likely, not always, like there's always great organizations and group of people and friends and family, but in saying that, sometimes this is an easy way for people to make someone a scapegoat. They don't even look like me, so that internal bias always comes into play. Instead of being curious about the other person and learning about what perspective they have and what they have to offer, what they're going to do is, especially if they are that manipulative, narcissistic, and that kind of person who actually thrive and that's how they live their life, they're going to start putting that blame on you. Right or not, they're just doing it to make someone into a scapegoat. For example, if there's an issue at work, for example, if people are not happy in general, what they're gonna do is, then if you look a bit different, they will start, blaming those issues on you, even though you might not be remotely connected to those issues. This is the kind of scapegoating I'm talking about. It can turn into really nasty things, and guys, there are certain ways to deal with it. So first of all, what you need to do is how you frame your own mind. So you gotta frame your own mind first, and you have to remain calm at all times. Even if someone comes at you yelling, know that that's their own, that's them, that's not you. So even if they yell at you, I know it's really hard and something I'm working on, but I am able to do that. Even if they're yelling at you, you stay calm, because the thing is, the whole point of them yelling at you is to rattle you, to shake you, so that you become, so much, you get out of so much of your own comfort zone that you start, subscribing to what they're saying. So stay calm. No matter what happens, stay calm. Second thing is, remain assertive. Know your truth. So once you know the truth, stay assertive. Stay your ground. Don't waver. Even if they're trying to blame something and trying to yell at you and saying all these things just to rattle you up so that you go off course, hide, or try to, play into their games, don't do that. Because not only it's going to get uglier, because that's what their point is. They want you to, play the game so that they can blame you and make you into a black sheep even more and say, see, that's what they do. That's what she said to me. That's, that's what she does. stay calm. Setting boundaries. So for example, if someone at work, just giving you a work example, starts yelling at you, stay calm. Say, I'm not going to speak to you when you're speaking to me in that tone or manner. I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with that. You are 100% allowed to state your emotional and physical security and your emotional needs, because at that instant of a pair of anyone shouting at you, you can state it and say, you know what, this is not safe for me. I'm not able to engage in this conversation. Walk away. So yeah, these are some of the things. The other thing I would advise you is build your own support system. So who are the people in your family group, in your friends group, in your workplace that you resonate with? Go and go and make that link with them, and that support network within those people who actually like you, who actually think you're a decent human being and worthy of respect and worthy of just common human dignity and common courtesy. I have noticed the more I have tried to, trying to build those bridges and trying to offer a peace offering, as well as I have bent my back to actually, build those relationships with people who are narcissistic, who has subtle racism in their heart and their mind. Because you know what? Who the hell are you to tell me to do something? I know better. You look different. I don't care. I have seen that, unfortunately. They will speak to people of their skin color in a totally different way than people who have different skin color. Unfortunately, I know in this day and age you would think racism doesn't exist, but it does. It's not in your face, because no one has ever come to my face and said that, but because they know I'm a confident person and I will do the right measures so that it never happens again. But in saying that, you can see subtle racism everywhere sometimes. I haven't experienced it as much, luckily, because I have been out of my own birth country for a really long time. So I can assimilate into different communities and groups with much ease. Yeah, I will stand out because of the way I look, or because I might not subscribe to things that they are subscribing to. But I will always try to assimilate within that group, because I want to work in peace and understand other people's perspective. That's always my mindset. But of course, there'll always be people who will not think that you amount to much, especially my friends, when you are in a position of power. So when you are in a position of power, the scapegoating is insane, my friends. And when I say insane, it is like I'm at a stage and an age where, I'm mature enough to, identify, scapegoating and what it is, and when someone's trying to do that, trying to pin it on me, and I can say, nah, it's not. I'm not on my watch. I'm mature enough to do that. But if you're in a power, and if someone is trying to, or a community or a group of people with the same agendas, because they're trying to pin a blame on someone wrongly or rightly, and trying to stereotype and smear campaigning, gaslighting, and trying to recruit other people so that, you can, you no longer in that power position, that happens a lot as well. Especially, if you look different, have different beliefs or values, and are not fake like them, and don't have a different outer and interior, because that's how a lot of them work. If those people show their true colors to everyone, my friends, they will not, people will not even want to talk to them. That's how toxic they are. But yeah, that's how they work. So yeah, you have to start making your own support systems, find people who are like-minded, who have a kind heart and a mind that seeks to understand the truth, it's people who appreciate the truth and the beauty about truth. Truth is not always pretty. That's something we need to realize. And scapegoaters will use that truth for your smear campaign. They're gonna use that truth against you, you know, just to justify their hate. So yeah, guys, be really mindful of what scapegoating is and how it works. And you know, it's an ancient technique used by a lot of people to discredit and, you know, exile, send people in exile. Because like 100, 200 years ago, if you are exiled, maybe, then you might not survive, because without communities, people did not survive. Now it's not the case. Now you can survive without communities, so exile doesn't work, but scapegoating still does. They will make sure that, you know, you are miserable, people have a certain perception of you, you're treated unfairly. Anything you say will be used as a fodder just to, you know, ignite more hate towards you. So guys, be mindful of, you know, what scapegoating is. It is to discredit you, to blame you, to deflect, and to, you know, diabolically, you know, project on you their own shame, their own guilt, you know, just because they are untruthful and they're not living in authenticity. They will hate those people who stand out for any reason. And you know, sometimes what really, guys, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional. Like, I'm in a stage where I can see scapegoating for what it is, but when someone isn't aware of that, and you know, they're young, or they have a disability, or they don't have that, you know, maturity or life experience to see what scapegoating is, guys. So what happened is that ruins their life. And I've seen it. My family or my friends, some of them were victims of scapegoating. And it was so malicious. It was so malicious that you think that how can even people act and live like that, you know? But my friends, scapegoating is real. Look around yourself. Make sure that you are not a victim of scapegoating, guys. Know the red flags when you know, you're being made into a black sheep or a scapegoat for in your family or in your friend group or in a work situation. Be mindful of red flags. Start being assertive. Stay calm. Make your own networks of support. And I will say, guys, if the scapegoating and you know, that blame game is not finishing, leave. Even if it's your family, leave. It is never ever worth it for you as a person, as a human being, to deal with it. It's not, you know. So I'm sorry to get a bit emotional about it, but you know, I just wanted to make a video highlighting the horrors sometimes scapegoating can lead people into. People can commit suicides, you know. This can lead into people going to depths of depression and, you know, anxiety and PTSD, you know. It can lead to so many negative things. But guys, if you are looking after your own mental health and spiritual health and the way you operate in the world, my friends, this will not affect you as deeply, you know. It might shake you, it might rattle you for a few days, weeks, or months. Hopefully not more than a few months, because then it will start, you know, rotting away at your core. And this, my friend, is why I'm making a video. I don't ever want anyone to be made into a scapegoat without them knowing about it. Once you know that someone's trying to, you know, make you into a scapegoat, leave. Stay calm, stay assertive, stay objective, tell your truth in the most, you know, honorable way. You don't need to sink to what they're doing, into, you know, blame game and doing nasty things. No, stay above it. Be a better person for yourself, not for them. Guys, they don't even care for themselves, you know. This is how, like, I actually pity them. I don't hate them. because it's not like for me to hate. They're on their own journeys, but I pity them. They are given such a beautiful life. Life is a gift, and they're wasting it by being narcissistic, by being so toxic and like so deflective, and instead of dealing with their own shadows, they are ruining someone else's life. Like, guys, that is the lowest of the low. Okay, if you have issues and you know it and you're dealing with it yourself, that's fine, and you don't do anything about it, whatever, it's your own life, mate. If you want to live like that, absolutely fine. But for me, what's not acceptable is when people start making scapegoats. And yeah, that ruins people's lives, sadly. If you're young, if you're disabled, or you don't have those networks, you don't have that life skills, you suffer. And I've seen people, and I have dealt with it myself in my younger years, and that broke me. It broke me. I did not know what to do because I started questioning my own reality. I've seen some worse scenarios where people, literally harmed themselves because of that, because of lies. There were smear campaigns, there were gaslighting, there were like lots of manipulation tactics so that everyone around them thinks they're a nutcase or they're a bad person, or they're to be blamed, when all they did was just be themselves and be innocent. That enrages me. That makes me really sad. As a young person, when you go through it, you kind of question your reality. You're like, did that actually happen? Like, I swear I thought that happened. That's just gaslighting, and I went through it, and I personally dealt with it in different ways. Like, I'm not going to go into details because the video's gone really long. I dealt with it through my spiritual journey. I recognize my spirituality and who I am and where I'm going and what resonates with me and what doesn't. That scapegoating gave me a good reason to delve into my own spirituality. I did journaling. That really helps. Journaling has been my number one to date. There has never ever been an issue that I could not get over without journaling. Journaling has given me the tools and the mindset and the and different ways through which I can come back to my own self, after I've been gaslit, or there's been a smear campaign against me for whatever reason. I look different, or I dress different, or who I was, because I did not kiss anyone's ass. I've never done that. I am so proud. Since I was a teenager, I have never ever tried to get into people's good books just because I wanted to be part of them. Because I have seen that people who did that, even then they got treated like trash, because they never liked those people to begin with. When you're trying to kiss their ass, all it's doing is giving them, that nasty person, the validation that how important and how great they are, that even they're trying to kiss their ass. It's never worth it, guys. Leave. Try to minimize contact. If you're at workplace and you absolutely are in that kind of economic state, or you can't really see your way out, limit your contact. I would say, guys, and I stand by it. If it's family or work or friends or a group within your religion or spiritual group or whatever, leave. Those people, with time, they only hold more grudges. They only will things will only get worse, once they start picking on you, and they have already managed to recruit some people against you to fit their narrative of you. Leave. That's the only option you have. You don't have any other option. You cannot justify staying in a place that has made you into a scapegoat. That is a disrespect for you as a person. I don't care if you're paid million over there. If you're being treated like trash, made into a scapegoat, and it's eroding away and eating away at your own spirit and your well-being and who you are, leave. I don't care. I'm gonna leave, even if I'm being paid $1 million. For me, my own self-worth is way more important than being paid $1 million a year. No way. There's no way. And I know, guys, everyone's perception of money is different. And I know money doesn't buy happiness, but it can cure a lot of issues. Like if you are poor and you have money, or you can afford a nicer place and a safer place to live in for yourself and your children and your family. You can send them to a nicer school where they can become better people. I do understand 100%. I am all about having enough money to live a comfortable lifestyle, guys. I'm not one of those hippies who go, oh, money doesn't do anything. No, without money, without essential resources, you're not going to live a comfortable life. If you want to travel, for example, and live within different cultures, how are you going to do that? Without a bit of money, you can't even pay for the air tickets, So yeah, money is important, but in saying that, it is no way, it's no way a substitution for my own self-worth. I would rather have a job where I'm paying, enough to, fulfill my essential needs and things I can do comfortably, rather than a job that is paying me $1 million, but every single day I'm having to, face up to those people and those allegations and that nasty negativity, because I know for a fact, and I've lived through it, it erodes at you. It eats at your own perception of who you are. You no longer feel worthy. You see yourself in the same light as those narcissistic and bad, like people with bad intentions see you as, because what you surround yourself with, it has a really strong effect on you. I know that. I'm not a crazy person, I'm just just an average woman living in this world, but I know whatever is happening around you has an effect on you. So leave those places. Leave if you are stuck in a marriage, in a relationship, your parents, your siblings, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. If they are scapegoating you, making you into a scapegoat or black sheep, leave those people. There is no excuse. Zilch. And sometimes it's hard to get rid of those people because they're so codependent on you and your energy, because you are providing that safe haven for them. And sometimes, unfortunately, we've done it for so long that they think that they're entitled of your time, energy, money, any resources that you've been giving them. Attention. It can be as simple as attention, honestly. You're not giving them any money. You're just okay with being made into a scapegoat, and you're giving them attention, and what they're saying, you're responding back and forth. That's attention. That's being an energy vampire. And guys, when you don't have energy to give, even to yourself, you drain yourself, and then you can't function as a person. So leave, guys. It's never worth it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. And honestly, I like I said, these videos are not planned. These are sometimes nudges and sometimes revelations that I get when I am sitting by myself. And I thought I had to give that message out of scapegoating, and what to look out for, and how it can affect you in so many ways. It's spiritual, it's physical. As a woman, okay, I'm not I hope I don't gross anyone out. As a woman, your menstrual cycles get affected. It's that bad. We as women, we are a lot more intuitive anyway. But as a woman, if you stay in an environment where it's so toxic, even if those people are not pointing fingers at you to your face, and they're doing it behind your back, as an intuitive person, you pick on that. Like I'm able to pick on it, honestly, and I hate it sometimes. I'm like, I wish I didn't feel that. I wish I didn't see that. But it's a gift, guys. So as a woman, your menstrual cycles may be affected severely. You might get profuse bleeding or no bleeding at all, or you might get cramps or so bad and develop further health issues. So as a woman, the first thing to look out for is menstrual bleeding. Has there been any irregularities whilst you are going through that scapegoating period, or someone's making you into a black sheep? always look out for those little things, because as a woman it's easy to do, because every month our body goes through such immense change. Personally for me, it 100% it affects it. And all my family and my friends, all the females I know, whenever I've discussed it with them, they have confirmed, that whenever they are stressed, it affects their menstrual cycles. So start looking out for those red flags within your own bodies. Your body will tell you. It 100% will. I know science sometimes doesn't agree with, as an intuitive person will feel or experience. But you know what, we are living in an age of Aquarius, and we no longer subscribe to what the Western medicine has been teaching us, because go do your own history why it's been done. There's a reason for it, so that we are so far removed from our physical body and our spiritual body that we don't even pay any mind to it. But that's not the truth. We are changing, guys. We are learning, and we are realizing things that are happening around you, and we need to start picking on it. So number one thing is, your body will tell you there's something wrong. Get out. In the past, guys, whenever I've been subjected to that kind of smear campaign, or blaming and projection and deflection, my body started to react on it. I started feeling really off. My menstrual cycle was so off, profuse bleeding, and a lot of weakness, and my lower back was achy, like so achy, to the point where I couldn't even get up. And I don't know about you guys, but lower body represent our foundation. That's where the spine is. That's where the upper and the lower body connects. So our lower back, specifically our lower spine, and the hips, the upper hips, the upper side of the hips and the lower spine, that's where the foundation is, guys. So when you're subjected to scapegoating as a woman, your foundation starts to eat away, and that's when you start having those severe, and I'm not saying, this is universal. Every woman and every man is different. You might have different symptoms. You might start having headaches. I know some of my female friends, they tell me that they start having those migraines. Luckily I don't get migraines, but they will start getting migraines. They will have sleepless nights. I sometimes have sleepless nights as well. I will start, questioning my own reality and my spirituality, and like I said, your foundation starts to be affected, because you are letting these people, you're within these people, with these environments, and you're not taking any action. You're not leaving. You're letting them and the environment affect you, and that's really bad. Never ever subject yourself. Even if it pays a lot, leave. You will, by the grace of the divine, you will find something better. And I have always, whenever I have left a high-paying job or a high-paying project, I have always found something better that was more aligned to me, with myself, and that's always the best news. So there is a silver lining, guys. There is always good news by the end. Once you're subjected to that kind of behavior, you stay calm, you stay grounded within your own reality, you set boundaries. You're like, no, you're not speaking to me that way. We're not doing that, sorry. That's, and then they can actually, if you pursue it legally, those people can get into a lot of trouble. But honestly, sometimes it's not worth it. Only if you feel like you have been wronged enough that it's damaged you, and that's my personal opinion, maybe you can take it further, but most of the time it's not worth it, because then you have to give statements and be part of a system that's actually is sometimes not helpful. So guys, leave when you can. Leave when you're still, your dignity, your self-worth, your respect is still intact. You leave them, before it gets so ugly that you can't even look at yourself. You never want to be in that stage. So guys, it's really important that we talk about this topic of scapegoating. So in this topic, hopefully you understand what is scapegoating and what are the types of scapegoating. Like I said, it's within a family, organizational structure of any kind. And what are the mechanisms of scapegoating, which is unfair blame, gaslighting, projection, smear campaigning, wrongful accusation, finding people who are of similar, opinion as you, and then, making life hell for you. And in a process, you question your own insanity and your self-worth. No, my friend, let's start living with love and light. Go where you are loved, where you are valued. It's never worth it, no matter how much money they pay you or how much prestige you have in the community. It's never worth it, because at the end of the day, you're gonna get destroyed because of your environment and the people you surround yourself with. With that, my friend, I know it's been a really heavy topic, and let's do better, and let's be vigilant, and let's give ourselves that love and light and make the right choice for ourselves. And I'll see you later. See you, bye.